Welcome, GW fans, to another episode of Raise High at GW. We're once again at Tonic, the official pre- and post-game host for fans in the district, and as always, joined by head men's basketball coach Jamie and Christian. I'm Kevin Burke. It's March. Here we go. Big time coming up with the E10 tournament coming up next week.
Yeah, I'm really enthused with how our team's been playing to finish this thing out. Playing a really good basketball right now. Just loving being around our guys, loving our field, loving our energy. We got a dynamic group in that locker room.
The E10 championship, we've been talking about it all season, is 2 miles away at Capital One Arena. What does that mean for you in being able to play in your backyard and just 2 miles from campus?
Well, it's great to be able to celebrate college basketball in where your campus is. And I think that's not a lot of people get to do that this time of year. And I've been at levels where you had a chance to play those games right on campus, and it just gives an incredible feel to be able to bring the E10 tournament to a great basketball city in Washington, D.C., and to be the school that's used as sort of like the host and understanding here. I think it's really important, and we're enthused about having a chance to play in front of a lot of excited fans. Are
there any advantages to, say, playing at home as opposed to Brooklyn or somewhere else that you don't necessarily have when you go there?
Well, I think there are major advantages in playing in a basketball city like Washington, D.C. that's so centrally located, mostly in our league. People from Philadelphia will be able to get down here easily. People from the South will be able to get up here easily. And I think it just makes a lot of sense when it's here because we just have, we have a lot of facets that are supplied here. So that's going to be really important. I think it'll be a great turnout for fans from all of these teams. I think sometimes when it gets in the Northeast, it can be kind of spotty for fans. But Washington, D.C. has always been a great host, and I'm expecting to see that when we line them up.
We'd love to have it in D.C. every year. Just putting that out to the E10 right about now. But let's talk about what's the look ahead. We know we're not playing on Wednesday. You got to buy out of the first round, and you're going to be facing somewhere in the middle on that Thursday game. So what's it looking like in terms of the preparation? You don't know who you're playing yet, but the preparation for that first game.
Yeah, we stay locked into each opponent that's in front of us. The good thing is by the time you get to tournament play, you most likely played every team you're going to have the opportunity to play, so you can have an understanding of what you did better, what you can do better, and what you didn't do very well the first opportunity. This time of year, it's so much about emotional control. Everyone understands how important each game is. Everyone's feeling that kind of energy. So we've just got to do a great job of spend a lot of time with our guys on their mental and their ability to play under pressure, and their emotional, their ability to play under great emotional strengths. And if we do a great job there, the physical will have a chance to go out and play itself out.
You've done this before where you're going to have to win 4 games in 4 days, and everybody pretty much has to do that. What's it like? Take us behind the scenes a little bit in terms of getting ready for those next games, because you want to be focused on Thursday, but you also have to be ready with a 24-hour turnaround.
Yeah, number one is just making sure your players know how much you love this time of year and how much fun it is. We'll have more fun as a coaching staff with our players this time of year. Our guys will understand the strategy at the highest level. But we've all wanted to coach to be in this position right now, to have an opportunity to play in the NCAA tournament and to have a chance to win out. I mean, that's a dream for every person that's dribbling in the backyard right now or in a gym working out by themselves. So we have a chance to live that dream out, and we're going to make sure our players understand that, they appreciate that. And when we talk about the preparation, what you're really talking about is the ability to see what you can do under pressure when it matters the most. And we've got a coordinator system the way we operate. We have an offensive coordinator, defensive coordinators, so they have the ability to kind of get a little bit ahead on some of these things and kind of be prepared. But again, our team has already played all these teams, so they're going to have a strong understanding. The biggest thing we can do for them is just making sure that they have moments after victories to reset themselves and enjoy it, and then have the ability to have them be able to reset and be ready for the next opponent.
Let's say, touching on something you said to the point where this is why you do what you do, right? This week is why you do what you do?
And you love doing it. I mean, you love being in a situation where you have to win to get in. And, that's a large part of basketball is tournament play. And that's why I think it's the best sporting event in the country, every year, March Madness. And, people get excited about it, and we're a part of that. We're a part of their excitement, and we're a part of their experience. And, I've been a part of programs and teams where, you dominate the month of March, and there's nothing more fun than that. And, I love that group of guys we have in that locker room. I think we certainly have the ability to be able to do that. And, we're excited about lacing them up and having a chance to do it.
You mentioned you've seen most of the league, pretty much everybody except for St. Bonaventure. How do you sort of gauge what you think about the E10 tournament coming into this week with the rest of the league? Yeah,
I mean, it's great teams and great coaches in this league. That's number one. And so you have just a great respect for every opponent that comes in, because any opponent can win the E10. I mean, you look at the list of coaches, their accolades, you look at the list of players, their accolades. I mean, this is a great league. And so just having a lot of respect for that, but having enough respect for ourselves, understanding that our journey isn't over yet. A lot of teams this time of year, they're looking at this as it's the end, and I think it's just our beginning. I think we just started to kind of learn the lessons that we need to learn. I think we've just started to kind of excel and become the team that we can become. So you talk about preparation, obviously it's our opponent. We worry about them. But it really starts with us and putting our heart and soul in the right place and then going and attacking.
And taking a 10,000-foot view here, you look back your first year, you go to Brooklyn, COVID happens. Last year, you win the first round game, get bounced on Thursday. This year, you've made it to Thursday already and have an opportunity to play in the quarterfinals. Do you get a sense in terms of this is the progress that you were looking to see?
It feels good to know that we're making progress as a program. It feels good to be able to look out each year and say that we've making a substantial step. Certainly, I think we could have made a bigger step. So, as a coach, you're always hungry and pushing for more. But just, again, enthused about where we are. And, our guys have earned it. Really tough early part of the season. Our guys could have folded. They didn't. We had great resilience. And, one thing when you have great resiliency, it's really tough to beat a team that's not afraid to come back. And I think our team's really been self-made. There's nothing propped up about us. We've earned every win we've had. We've earned every loss we've had. And I think that's a dangerous team when you get to March.
When we come back, we're going to go in depth on that dangerous team and step by step of what we need to see from them at Cap One Arena next week. That's next on Race High at GW.
The Afghanistan Papers are a collection of documents confidentially asking people what went wrong during the war. The public has a right to know what happened.
How do you think you pronounce that? Mananalu. Mananalu.
Mana to me means strength, power, honor.
That was awesome.
I had life-threatening bleeding in my brain. But thanks to the virtual reality technology at GW Hospital, my surgeons were able to look inside my brain and plan for a successful surgery. It's remarkable that I woke up and ran 5 miles this morning. I would tell GW Hospital, thank you for giving me new life.
For life's defining moments, the George Washington University Hospital, defining medicine.
Raise high. This isn't just our battle cry, it's our call, our challenge. Because when you were called to Washington, you were called to higher expectations, to a higher standard. We are called here to advance knowledge, to serve society, to change the world. This is the George Washington University, and what we make is history. So stand up, be bold, take risks, press on, push harder, raise high.
We're back on Race High at GW, and Coach is going to throw it back a couple weeks after the Super Bowl. Sean McVay said something that you say a lot, that we want to be our best when our best is required. Where does that come from?
Yeah, that's a John Wooden quote. That's the definition for competitive greatness. Is every coach has probably gone through and read some of John Wooden. Obviously, McVay is a big student of John Wooden growing up there on the West Coast, and the same thing for us. And it's something that I've always loved. I always feel like if you get your team to rise to the occasion in a particular moment, there's nothing better than that. And some days you might only have 50%, but if you give 100% of your 50%, that gives you a chance to have an opportunity to win or compete at the highest level. And I'm sure Coach McVay feels the same way. And John Wooden has been the leader of men for a long period of time with his pyramid of success and how he's defined different things. So just trying to adapt that into our program. I think our guys have done a great job of adding it.
And it's interesting how he takes a John Wooden quote from basketball. Do you ever see yourself going across to a football or baseball or something like that and taking lessons that you can employ?
Yeah, I mean, obviously I played college baseball, so I love baseball. So I'm always trying to take things from baseball. And some of our analytic stuff that we've worked through really kind of started with a baseball kind of mindset. Always taking stuff from football. I love the NFL. I love watching how organizations run. In the off season, I study a ton of that stuff. I study the Patriots a ton, the Steelers, and just love learning other sports because I think there's ways that you can apply that into hoops. In football, a lot of ways with the way they have the coordinator system and the way their organizations are set up, they're in some ways they're ahead of basketball with how organized and how detailed they are. Part of that is because they have so many more people in the building that are contributing to success. So just always learning a ton from football. The hardballs are really fascinating people to learn from. Obviously one with the Ravens, one in Michigan because of how they like to operate and some of those things. So there's just a couple of names that I throw out there that I've really had a lot of fun enjoying it to study, and McVay's certainly one of those guys as well.
So do you take you mentioned that you have an offensive coordinator, defense coordinator. Did you take that from the football mindset?
Yeah, I took that from the football mindset. When my first job, I coached Division III at Emory and Henry College, and they have one of the best football programs in the South for a long period of time, one of the best traditions. And Emory Hill football is a really, really big deal. And so when I was down there, I had a chance to really, really get ingratiated into the football culture. We kind of shared the same office suite, and so you're just around these guys all the time. I was just fascinated with their level of detail the offensive coordinator and the defensive coordinator are able to go into in terms of building out their ideas and how they want to attack it. And I looked at basketball, and most basketball teams kind of split up scouts, and so your scouts have a variety of differences because it depends on the personality of the person who's watching the film. And I felt like that was an area that was weak in basketball. And so I think the coordinator system really allows for the defensive coordinator, their offensive coordinator to dig so much deeper and so much faster into how we want to attack an opponent. It's really built for tournament play, and it's one of the reasons I think we've had so much success in tournament play is because there might be a lot of variance for other teams because you're bringing in a different coach to do the scout, but for us, we got the same voice, the same terminology, and we're attacking it downhill every time, no matter who we're going to play.
It's safe to say that creates the connectivity that, like you just mentioned, that is needed this week.
Yeah, the connectivity is huge, and I think when you talk about connectivity, the other thing we talk about is like our learning curve and our learning process. And by having an offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, we just felt like it helped our players learn the game faster and in a different way. When we do our film study, a lot of teams bring everybody in, they watch a film all together. We don't do that very much, occasionally because of time you might have to, but mostly all ours is individual film. And I feel like that's really important because our coordinators are able to learn how a guy learns, how they process information. Sometimes you have a guy that you can get a little bit more to. Our coordinators do a great job of giving more information to them in those situations. You have a guy who needs a little bit less. Our coordinators do a great job being able to adjust that. And my parents being teachers, everything's about education, about learning. And so I think the coordinator system for us works the best because it really allows us to dig into each player's learning curve and their learning ability.
Fascinating stuff. We're going to get back to that next year, but switching gears now back to our first season of Race High at GW, we did rapid fire almost every single episode. Now we're going to do rapid fire on your team and what is the best thing that we need to see from them here at the E10 tournament. We'll start with the guy you said the most underrated player in the E10 is James Bishop.
We need him to get back to scoring the basketball at the level that he can. He's done a great job all year defensively, quite honestly, and he's really stepped his defensive game up. Now it's just about him being able to get downhill and be able to score points for us. We need him to be efficient scoring the basketball. He's a guy that can dominate a tournament, and we're expecting him to be able to do that.
Joe Bandisel, career high 29 against Richmond a couple weeks ago, and you're going to need him in March here.
Yeah, Joe's a big game player. He steps up against big opponents. He knows how to play with high level emotion. He's a dangerous player when it comes to March.
How about Breon Freeman just continuing to get better game after game? You can't keep the smile off your face every time you hear about him.
So excited for Breon Freeman. His journey, how he's become the point guard he is for us, how dominant a player he's been for us. Another big game player that loves playing and loves competing against the very best. I've been loving watching his defense improve over the last few weeks. He's really becoming a complete guard for us. He's really playing his best basketball of the year.
I'm going to go off script here for a second. His performance against Jacob Gilliard against Richmond was pretty darn impressive for a freshman.
Yeah, impressive for anyone, but especially for a freshman. But we expect that out of him. I mean, he's a guy that competes. He learns at a high level. He's just a special talent, special player. I'm enjoying being able to put the ball in his hands, allowing him to make plays for our team. We're trying to give more and more ownership of the offense. Again, special player. I love point guard play, and that's my point guard.
That's your point guard. All right. How about Ricky Lindo Jr. just got honored at Senior Day?
Yeah, Ricky, guy's capable of dominating on both ends of the floor. Excited for him to kind of settle in a little bit. It's been an up and down a few weeks for him, but I'm really seeing him kind of get back to being who he was as a player. When that light goes on in a tournament play, I'll be scared for our opponents because this guy's really special.
Hunter Dean's been your starting five for a month and a half now, and you don't need him to be starting five.
We love Hunter. We need him to move that ball around offensively. He's a dominant player in a lot of facets of the game, and a lot of times we focus a lot on scoring. We just talked about 3 or 4 guys right there that can score the ball at the highest level. So Hunter's responsibility isn't always scoring, although he's a good scorer. It's really much more about moving the ball, getting those guys open, giving us a defensive anchor. He's done a great job of that, and he does a great job of that. We're really tough to beat. And he's really important for our offense. He's really important for our defense.
All right, coming off your bench, you have a guy with NCAA tournament experience in Brendan Adams.
Yeah, big game player. Plays great when the emotions are high, understands, sees the game clearly when it's really tough. He's settled our group at a high level for us. He's been good for us all year.
And I'm going to sort of lump these three guys together because they sort of all fill that same role with Quanzi Samuels, Noel Brown, and Amir Harris. When they get called on, they've been able to deliver this year.
Yeah, those guys are like our relief guys. Whatever we need. Noel Brown does a great job defending in the post with his size and his ability to score on the inside one-on-one. Amir Harris, great point guard defender at 6'6". And Quanzi Samuels kind of fits into all these different areas. He can play the 3, the 4, and the 5. He's been a really important player for us. His ability to shoot the ball could be important for us in the month of March because he can come off the bench and make a few threes for us and really stretch the defense.
And there's a bunch of guys that may not see the floor, but are going to be super important this week. And these guys have been helping you all year in your scout team.
Yeah. Our buff squad's been great over the last 3 months. Just outstanding. Miles Galley is a senior for us. He just really understands what we need from him. Tyler Warner is going to be a really good player for us down the road. Brian Knapp is a guy who's played minutes for us this year and has been great for us, and a guy that can score the ball in a lot of different ways. Theo as well is a guy who comes in and defends it and does a great job for us. And so really excited about those guys. Aziz comes off. He's one of the guys that kind of shoot the ball a little bit. So we've got a great group of guys on buff that have helped us all year. They've got great enthusiasm, and it's a big time of year for them as well.
There you have it. It's a big time of year for you. So we are excited that you were able to make some time for us today, and we're excited to see you raise a trophy here at Cap One this week. Coach, best of luck.
Thank you.
When we come back here on Raise High GW, we'll talk with another coach that's raising trophies. That's Brian Thomas, the 2-time E10 Coach of the Year with men's and women's swimming and diving. That's next on Raise High at GW.
This is our water, and this is also water, but it's more than that. This is a belief that our oceans are better filled with life than with plastic. So let's start sipping like lives depend on it, because they do. Mananalu, sip for life.
Domino's new oven-baked dips are so new that we made a new commercial about their newness. Try new flavors like our cheesy marinara, baked apple, or hot and melty 5-cheese with our not new but still delicious twists. Carry out Domino's new oven-baked dips and twist combos or any 3-topping pizzas for $7.99 each.
Choose from 12 different specialized master's programs and more than 25 graduate certificates for ultimate customization. You're a business leader in the making, and GW is where your future begins.
Tap into your unique style by creating your custom look with Tailor on Tap. With us, looking and feeling your best is the goal. From picking the perfect fabric to personalizing your stitching, Tailor on Tap knows how to bring your vision to life with exclusive custom clothing available to all. It's time to make your first impression last with Tailor on Tap.
Welcome back to Raise High at GW. We're now joined by the E10 Men's Swimming and Diving Coach of the Year and the E10 Women's Swimming and Diving Coach of the Year. That's Brian Thomas, 2-time E10 champion this year. Congratulations. Has the smile worn off your face yet since your team's performance?
No, it hasn't. It was a little unexpected, I think, and just super proud of our kids. So it has been fun looking back at seeing some of the accomplishments and just kind of revisiting things.
Let's dive in. We start with your men's team in a little bit, but let's talk about your women's team. And you're perhaps a little bit more proud of what they were able to accomplish. Is that fair to say?
Definitely. Coming off a 4th place finish last year and some of the challenges that we had to overcome, and we brought in a whole slew of first-year students and acclimating 4 new staff members. It's a lot at once and something we were obviously prepared for and planned for, and we're probably just more excited about versus anything. And they just rode that out all year and did a phenomenal job. Had a great mix of senior leadership and great enthusiasm out of our first years and just talent, of course. So it was good, absolutely. And
at this level, it's truly a team sport, and your women really epitomized that by the fact that you got contributions up and down the board, like you were just saying.
Yeah, that was cool to see. We were 3 to 4 deep in each event, which is really rare within our conference, and they fed off of each other. There was no ego associated with it whatsoever, and really, obviously seeing it behind the scenes, the support they lend to each other, and it was ideal. It's what you want out of a group of women. Learning what it takes to succeed at a high level was pretty cool to see.
It's their 2nd conference title in 3 years, 17 medal winning swims, 6 program records. Who were some people that, stood out there? It was had an incredible week.
Yeah, I think you have to look at Erin McCarthy first and foremost, really dominating the distance events for us. And it's just a great example of why we had success. We have a group of seniors that really progressed throughout their 4 years, Erin being a great example of that, and you combine that with great first year, second year contributions, you're going to be pretty good. And when you have great leadership and you have just really enthusiastic, excited young people to match up with that, you're going to have success. So Erin probably pops off the page at me first and foremost with how she's gotten better and improved throughout her 4 years. The addition of Barbara really helped mid-season, and that's where this whole thing is such a team effort. From Chandra and Marissa in compliance to our staff recruiting the right way, getting people here that allow us to have success is why we were able to do it. So that's really what sticks out at the forefront. It's hard to pinpoint an individual with our team, especially on the women's side, given the success that we have and how deep we are. It could have been anybody, and none of them would have surprised me, I think.
Now on the men's side, 5 titles now in 6 years, if I'm not mistaken, and that side had some phenomenal individual performances. You have 28 medals, 14 golds, and first place finishes in all 5 relays. Just really dominant all week.
Yeah, I think we expected to have that kind of success on the men's side going into it. Jurjay kind of pops off the page, winning the 50 freestyle, the 100 fly, the 200 fly. He's our best shot at making the NCAA championship and maybe making some noise nationally. There weren't many surprises there, I think. If anything, we were hoping to do a little bit better at the top and get multiple qualifiers to the NCAA meet, and that might be a little bit about what's next and what's going to motivate us moving forward. But it was pretty dominant, winning by 350 points. It was unique to see that, certainly.
What's the relationship like between these teams? Because we've seen it now the last couple of years where the men really supported the women really supported the men, and now they both get to celebrate at the same time. What's the relationship like? Because it is really like one team.
Yeah, it is unique. Being a combined program, the only thing that separates us is the competition itself. The actual meet itself is very different on the women's side than it is on the men's side. But other than that, we do everything together. The staff is the same. We train together. It's a really tight, connected group. I think the best thing about our team is that it is super inclusive. You can be yourself as part of GW swimming and diving, and I think that really correlates well when you have a combined program, and they tend to thrive on each other that way.
A lot of your swimmers have talked about they've never felt the support on the pool deck like they did at the conference meet. And then you get to celebrate it when you all jump in the pool at the end. What's that like? Because that's, you're building this entire season for that moment.
Yeah, I think this year was special, being able to celebrate together. We hadn't done that yet, and it certainly leaves a little bit of a bittersweet feeling when one team's having the success and one team maybe comes up short. Beyond that, I think the biggest thing to me is probably starting in the recruiting process. We really emphasize the importance of putting the team first and the kind of culture we have within our team. And part of that is, when we walk onto a pool deck, we want to point to our bench and say, that's the team I want to be a part of, and really be enthusiastic about that. And that's something that speaks to a young person. They want that as part of their experience. So we try to live that really every day when we're competing.
Now you mentioned you have a couple swimmers and potentially divers that can make it for the NCAA tournament. Enlighten us on that process.
Yeah, so it's a little unique with swimming and diving. Basically, there's a total number that the NCAA invites, and they fill it in event by event until they reach, on the men's side, about 29 to 30 athletes in each event. So it's a matter of just kind of paying attention to the other conferences, what meets are coming up, and then about a week from now we'll find out.
So who are some of the names that you could see potentially? You mentioned being able to get to NCAA.
Yeah, Jurjay in the 100 fly is 21st at the moment, so he's in a great position. And he actually traveled to Georgia this past weekend to improve his positioning and was able to do that. Mara Cosina is a good candidate on the men's side as well. Carol on the women's side, Barbara, Marley, all swimmers that show potential to get there.
So now, as we turn our attention forward, we said 5 times in 6 years for the men, 2 and 3 for the women. What's next? Where can this program go? What's the next step?
Yeah, I do think that's a big part of the next step, is looking at where we can be nationally and making a mark at an NCAA championship. Even looking at where our swimmers rank at the moment, we're surrounded by the Power 5. And it is rare for a mid-major to get multiple qualifiers, to get relay qualified, things of that nature. The thing is, at a meet like that, if you're able to score a relay, if you're able to score a couple individual qualifiers, all of a sudden you're in the top 20. So that's something that maybe is on our radar. I will tell you, we don't overload our athletes with expectation, and we certainly have our goals internally. We tend to let our success do the talking, though. Certainly national level success, getting to meets like the Olympic Games, things of that nature, it's on our radar, and we've been close. So we want to keep moving toward that, I think.
And the success talks for itself with 2 titles here in Foggy Bottom. Coach, congratulations on all the success this year and best luck moving forward.
Thanks, Kev. Appreciate it.
That'll do it for this episode of Raise High at GW. As always, thanks so much for tuning in, and thanks to Coach Thomas and Coach Christian for joining us. We'll talk to you next time.